Okay, so this is probably the conclusion for my Essence Drain and Blight character for the league. There has been some more changes to the character this league than I expected due to temple mods and the introduction of Val Blight. I'm currently on what I have defined as the bossing setup for the character, and it's probably gonna stay there. First, I'll start with the passive tree. Um, there are minor changes here. The most important of which is trickery, which is now damage instead of elemental damage, and it's a very good node for us as we get 10 dexterity here as well. Which helps a lot for equipping perfect form. So at the moment I just rely on the dexterity craft on my helmet and 16 all attributes from Impresence, and that is the only dexterity I have that is not from the passive tree. So it's so much easier to balance out the stats in addition to resists now. Another interesting thing is these 3 nodes here. If you feel like you have reached enough damage with the build, I would swap these Fizz and Chaos nodes over to attack and cast speed just to be a bit faster. At the moment I don't feel like I have enough DPS in tier 16 incursions, which we will get to later. I'll do a tier 16 map just to show how it performs. So yeah. Oh, here's another thing. If you feel like you don't need the 16% area of effect, it's more effective to path on the left side here instead, if you have Jewel Curse, since you will be able to save 1 travel node if you take this Jewel socket from the top and just take away these 4 points, 2 int points and area of effect, and then you can invest it into getting this Jewel socket or more life in the Scion life wheel as you get higher level. And that's about it for the passive tree. When it comes to the gear, like I mentioned, I don't feel like I have enough DPS for tier 16 incursions to make them feel comfortable, since they have so much chaos resistance, and if you have resistance or life as a map mod, you're going to be short on time if you play this build at this high tier. So I have gone back to using a Breath of the Council. I have gotten a disgusting double implicit on it, which makes it so much better. And I'm using this for pretty much everything now. The build is slower, but when you can't kill stuff fast enough, there is no point in being fast as a dot build. And I am not using Allelopathy, and I'm not using its Series Step. You get the spell dodge mod from the temple anyway, so I wanted to just show the build with rare boots. I haven't gotten my my regen enchant on the boots yet, so the boss in my map will maybe be a bit painful. We'll see. Just some rare gloves and the Hungry Loop for Essence Drain. And then we have the Val Blight in perfect form. You should stick with Allelopathy unless you have a very high budget and a 6 link and at least at level 3 empower. So this kind of setup is only if you want to take the build as far as possible. Other things, yeah, running Jewel Curse now with Despair and Temple Chains. I have gotten Immortal Call in my shield and Shield Charge in my Breath of the Council, so that for running labs I just weapon swap to Bright Beak and Prismatic Eclipse for some really fast leap slamming action. And I don't need to rebuff auras, since I have... usually I have my Blasphemies in my shield, but I have changed that around this time to make the lab setup a bit more comfortable. Yeah, I think that's it for the gear. Just get as much cold resistance as you can. You can see I haven't managed to get much cold resistance. My gear isn't that good, since I started playing my Trapper after a few Uber Elder kills on this character. Since, well, this character is not good for that kind of content, but hopefully now with this setup it should be just fine up to tier 16 maps. So let's see. I just started using Despair, so I'm not really sure how good it is. So maybe this is a nice example. For stuff. Oh Jesus. Okay, I'll just do that later. For stuff like abysses, allies cannot die, auras, and so on, Blight comes in real handy in addition to the map bosses. But other than that, you can see the 5-linked Essence Drain is mostly fine while mapping. It's a bit slow somewhere, and I need to tap enemies a little bit with Blight just to get things going from time to time. Ah, Blight on that guy and he dies extremely fast. And I mean, Blight lasts for 10 seconds, the damage component, and you can see how fast Beyond Unique die. So it does a lot of damage, while at the same time buffing the damage of the rest of the build. I'll just go kill the map bosses, so that we are done with this map. There we go. Blight again. Extremely strong when you use it at the correct spots. And now for the Incursion. Starting without Blight going in is really bad. So we'll have to charge it up before we get to the Architect. There we go. So yeah, getting Despair into the setup seems to really help in these things. That was very smooth compared to some of my previous runs in there. So yeah, the build is a bit slower since I use Breath of the Council, but other than that it works just fine even in tier 16. And it can kill everything, but it's still a league starter, and there's always gonna be some meta build that will outperform it. Now I'm really enjoying my Arc Trapper this league, but I'm very happy that I have my Essence Drain character around. It's amazing for Uber labbing, which I still use it for over my Trapper, for instance, due to the versatility of the build. So yeah, this is the conclusion for 3.3, and I hope it's been a bit informative.